Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am your host, Zachary Hare, and with me, of course, is everyone's favorite, regular, irregular, Karen Villa.
Hello, everyone. Let's talk romantic Sherlock.
Maybe view
not.
with the room, yes. Yes. Well, first, I like him. He's going over these different, trying to get, because obviously his father is very influenced, and so far he's not found deal yet that something that would get someone to come after. The real reason that someone's come after more is gonna go.
That's a very, very high potential because it could be an MI6 connection. It could be something that happened before, pre-rehab drug addicted Sherlock. It could be it could be that, and I'm sure they'll find a way to, circle back to how this threat to Moreland could be traced to Sherlock.
Could even be Mycroft.
Yeah, that's also an exciting possibility. Like when we talked about how it could be Moriarty, it could be just Moreland's own enemies because I'm sure he has loads of them. So, this is the midway point of the season, so we should be getting more intense Moreland infusion to the show soon.
Yeah. And so so Holmes is trying to figure out what I like to call his bullet worry balls.
He has the wall of crazy. I don't know what you like to call it when he does a little collage in the wall of crazy. He loves doing that he likes to visualize.
He said it's not a collage. He doesn't do crafts. I love the way he said that line.
I don't do crafts. So, yes.
So while he's figuring that out, Watson is going to go see Mittens. So we see while Holmes is figuring out his father's case, Watson is going off to see Mittens.
Mittens.
And Holmes is a distinct, and I think I called it. I knew there was something with how he showed her respect in her episode. I'm like, there's something there.
Yes.
I knew it.
Yeah, that little bit of chemistry. But before we get into Mittens, I mean, the prospect of romance has always been a shadow on the show because they cast Watson as a woman. And I remember the early criticism was, they're going to even fall in love and they have this unresolved sexual tension. It'll ruin, the Conan Doyle legacy. And that didn't happen, and we know that's not going to happen. Even though there are some people I know who still root for Sherlock and Joan to get together, which I personally never want to happen. Do you know those such people as well?
I haven't really seen too many people. I think most people are in the same camp as us because the writers even promised they are never sleeping together. Yes.
And then, of course, we had Irene / Moriarty as a romance element in the show. We had Watson with her boyfriend who died. That sadly is not at the tip of my tongue. His name is not there. But
I'm not going to remember that.
But he died. He was murdered by Gina Gershon's character. And so I don't know how much infusion of romance you expect from about Sherlock Holmes. Is it something you're pleased by? Do you want to?
Well, obviously in the original canon, Holmes. I mean, the closest he had to someone although even Doyle was never specific of like how Holmes felt about Irene Adler. I mean, he obviously respected her, and people although that's one of the things I don't mind them changing because I mean, so like some people. You've even theorized that Holmes maybe was a closet homosexual. Who knows?
I don't subscribe to that too much.
I don't know because I don't think it's really ever really addressed. I forget. I don't know, but I just don't think Doyle ever felt like addressing that because back then people didn't care. There wasn't it wasn't a romance novel, so no one expected it to be.
Yeah. So now Mittens is in the picture and Watson goes to see her. And and then this develops throughout the episode, and it's very well written and well performed. It's performed beautifully by both the actors. But is it necessary for the show?
Well, obviously the show can be done without. So I think necessary could be the wrong word.
Okay, is it working for you? Let's put it that way.
Yes. So far, I mean, I've seen on the sites, as this is a lot of popular shows, people are divided about it. I think if done right, it could because I hate the idea of Sherlock. It's like I hate the idea that any Sherlock Holmes can't be with a woman.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always liked that he has sexual encounters. Like I just hate Holmes doesn't understand human. Like he's distant. Or, no, he's a very unique individual, and the woman that catches his eye as more anything than sex has to be a unique individual. She just has to be. And I prefer to think even the old Holmes, it's not that he didn't want, like a woman came around that caught his eye, probably would have dated or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just because he never met the woman, and he just focused on the work.
Yes. So I think that it's a nice stretch for this version of Sherlock Holmes, and I'm intrigued how they're going to develop this because they have two very good actors working it out, and it seems like why not for the show, right? But I guess some people are curious about Sherlock Holmes.
Well, and they're also saying they don't like. I feel exactly what some people are putting. Like they don't like. Well, I'll say later what I really think.
Okay, yeah.
Because before we get the mittens, because although there was a distinct reaction when Watson said her name from Holmes.
Exactly. Yes.
It was so cute.
Yeah.
And I'll get to more on it later, but I don't think there's any reason they can't do cute in Holmes. But anyways, so Holmes gets a call from the captain. Turns out the other cop needs his help with the case. I love how Holmes walks in and says, "The last time officers from another precinct came in, I was accused of murder."
That was a great episode, but yes. So Sherlock is hesitant, but this new other captain offers a very exciting prospect for Sherlock Holmes. It's just planning a heist, and one of the best lines of this episode, and maybe in the entire series, is delivered in this very sequence.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let's get to it. So, they're trying to infiltrate a biker's gang, and the captain offers like, so biker gang, Satan worshippers, and trying to infiltrate a fort. Yes. He says, I'm practically engorged. When do we start? And the delivery of that line is just,
yes. That was almost my favorite line for me.
Sorry, what was that?
It almost made my favorite lines.
The delivery is just, yeah, so that's going to be my later discussion as well, is what this episode, what's relevant to me and what I took from it. But yes, so Sherlock is excited, to say the least, about. So
apparently there's a biker gang, and they have an officer on the inside, but the problem is they have to make sure there's something there, because as with any case when it involves a raid, if they win and there's nothing too illegal there, they wasted their time, because from then on the gang would be on the guard.
Yes. So and this kind of obstacles are like catnip for Sherlock. He loves, trying to solve impossible things. So hence he's, ready and willing, and he gets briefed further, about the undercover cop afterwards. And so he's off to go do some shopping to plan the heist, right? Shop for some toys.
And from there, we get what? No, I keep blanking on her. What's Mitten's real name again? In the show.
Fiona.
Okay, I kept forgetting because Mittens just for some reason sticks in my mind.
Yeah. So Fiona and Watson.
Watson, yes, I love this scene because there's a lot of notes I made on it because I find the way she interacts very interesting. And one thing I really like is that there's this really bad trend, especially in TV, where they have a character who is autistic or is clearly autistic and they don't say it, and makes them rude. Now, of course, we should have more autistic characters of the full spectrum, good, bad, because everyone's good and bad people. But I hate, I hate when they use the autism as an excuse.
Yes, that's really
to make them
lazy, right?
It's like, right, because, and let's just say it, it's what I think about Big Bang Theory. They have a character who's clearly autistic, even though the writers say he's not, even though he clearly is. And I actually thought she kind of makes me think of like a nice Sheldon.
You know what? That's a wonderful comparison. I hadn't thought of that. Yes, she's probably as smart as Sheldon, but there's none of that sort of, I guess, artificial autistic signals that most writers make assumptions on. And Fiona does it very well. I mean, you sense she has a different kind of behavioral condition, but it's not rude, and it feels more true to life. I really like your observation. I feel the same way.
I would love. We'll actually try. I would like to find this actress, see if we can get her on the show, because the writers of this show are so good at researching. We've seen addiction, we've seen different lifestyle aspects, and they always do it in a believable way. You know they research it, and I bet you anything they have some kind of autistic consult, or like they probably have an actual autistic person who helped with this development.
Yes. So yeah, that would be a real exciting thing for us to happen. But in the meantime, yes, it's wonderfully performed. Even you can even see the nuances of the actress. Her name is Betty Gilpin. You can see how you can see the conflict in her face where she knows she has to be nicer, and so she's making the effort. At the same time, you know that she is truly has this autistic condition, and you can see it reflected in the performance so beautifully. So I also enjoyed rewatching.
I still call myself neuroatypical because I love that freaking phrase.
I think that's put on, yeah.
One thing I like, if you look at the way she interacts, like when she, and again, like we said, there's no, like she says, she's not being rude. It's actually to make a sci-fi reference, it's almost Vulcan-like.
Yes.
Because Vulcans are not rude. They're just kind of cold and logical. They would state a fact like right here. She goes, you're later. She's not saying, oh, you're late, you jerk. She's just stating a fact. You are late, so I start working and I have to finish.
Yes.
And then Watson says, oh, I'll get coffee. And anyone else would be like, let her go. But no, she said, I'm finished. Oh, we can talk now.
Yes. Well done. I mean, it's why perhaps, the earlier discussion about Sherlock having a romance might put people off, but the way they've developed this female character, this female romantic interest, puts things in a new light. So I adore this sequence very much. Yes.
One thing I noticed, and I think I could so see the writers doing this, is she's saying because she has money because she never spends it, so she has a lot saved up. And Watson says, "No, you helped us out last time.
Yes,
this is a favor." And if you look at her, when she says that, she is doing the math in her head. Like, wait a minute, okay, favor. Like she's doing the math of a favor.
Yes. So she says,
and I love that.
Yeah.
Like she's like, yes, that equals out. So I find that acceptable.
Yep. So all these nuances from start to finish, they found an actress who could deliver all that you just beautifully described. So it's exciting to perhaps make sure this Sherlock Holmes get into romance, because Fiona is an interesting dilemma, obstacle perhaps, and a puzzle for Sherlock.
That's the best way. I was going to mention it later, but I put in my notes. I don't want to say I'm objectifying her, but it's like she's a case. It's not. Well, I'll talk more about that when we get to the scenes because it's such a.
We're obviously excited to share.
It really is. So let's talk about something else that's fun to talk about: the dollhouse.
Yes.
I love how the idea he went out and bought dolls just to be able to do the setup.
I can imagine all the shenanigans that he put a salesperson through. Just say, I need everything about this Sparkle Playhouse. Please get me this, and that would have been a nice comedic moment.
I know it's completely mature, but I still see that little cupcake looks like a tiny pile of poop.
It does look like a pink pile of poop. Yes.
So. They're trying to figure out ways to get in, and like they said before, it's a fortress.
Yes.
So but luckily the undercover cop meets him. One thing I like here, and this is another thing that makes me like this Sherlock is, well, one thing he respectfully saw, and he makes a kind of a glib joke, but he's saying to him, "You're undercover in a psychotic biker gang. I have respect for you."
Yes. Yep. So he gives that sort of benefit of the doubt to the undercover cop, but of course he has multiple, like he says within this scene, he has multiple objectives in meeting him, apart from just getting more photos from him, and it's to observe him physically. And another funny line in this sequence was the biker gangs. Sherlock calls them. They peddle poison to finance her denim cosplay.
Okay, I was like, that's what they said, denim cosplay, because I posted in the group that I wasn't sure about because I know bikers wear jeans, and I would think leather cosplay would make much more sense.
But the idea of describing what bikers want to wear as cosplay just cracked me up.
It makes sense. Well, believe me, I've known a few, and it's ridiculous. I knew I can't say who, but I knew someone that used to be in a biker gang, and they actually made him change. Like he got kicked out, and they made him. He had a tattoo with their symbol on it, and they made him change it, or they were gonna kill him.
Well,
and that's real life.
Entry requirements there.
Yeah, it's crazy, and forget about wearing their colors. Like if you wear their colors, and you're not wow. But okay, so and he tells him the real reason he.
I also thought, Zach, because with your facial hair, could you have been an extra? Could this been your opportunity to be cast? Oh?
If only. I should get to New York, see if I can get in on that.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you, but go ahead.
No, it's all right. Well, I was saying he finds out the real reason because Sherlock wanted to see, because it makes sense for planning like a breaking place and running in and out. He wanted to see the cop for himself, and actually this becomes a very important clue later.
Yes, very significant. What he observes in that very encounter.
And then Sherlock is having some fun with a life-size dollhouse on the roof.
I guess in the writer's room, like we mentioned the writers earlier, okay, somebody's assigned for all these comedic beats that, Sherlock, Lucy Liu, and Johnny Lee Miller have to do, because when they're on the comedic game, it's really top-notch. Even a little phone call, the furniture is gone, right? And then, it's just well-developed, and I laugh, and you just, I don't know, this might be sentimental, but it makes me so affectionate for the show, because these are the rhythms we've come to know over 4 seasons, and it's just so enjoyable and worth watching again, and we can't wait for the next episode, because that these two characters will interact so either really emotionally or really hilariously together. So I don't know how they just keep coming with these comedic moments that are actually tied into the larger story. So I puzzle about that sometimes.
And I love, of course, Holmes changing the lock on the door. So, and he actually says, "Oh, Watson, you're not as good as lock picking as I am, so you go."
So thanks for the insult and the compliment, I guess.
I love her face when she takes the lockpick out of his hand.
Yes.
It's just...
And then we had a shout out to Luke, who also moved for Sherlock in an earlier episode.
This is because word of English. That's part of his appeal.
But Sherlock's planning unfortunately goes to waste.
That is interesting too, an aspect of this episode. All that, there's not going to be a heist because it turns out the undercover officer turns up dead.
Oh man, I wish we had seen Sherlock heisting away though. I know. Would be funny. But yes, so Ryan Dunning is now been shot. So.
But the camera. See, what's interesting is the camera found of, which leads the police to believe it probably wasn't the bikers finding him out.
Yes.
Because they would have, if they knew it was a cop, it would have gone much differently, and obviously they would have hid the body better, and they would have found the camera.
Yes. So again, where there's a new obstacle now, it becomes a larger puzzle because this crime happened within the lair of the biker gang, and. We don't know how, there's cameras, there's properly as who the shooter was, and this gives the cops the reason to invade the headquarters or the lair, so to speak, of the biker gang.
And Sherlock makes notice how it doesn't make any sense, because even though the guy seems impulsive, it doesn't make any sense that he would take such a risk.
Yes, yeah, yep. And he said he's not a risk. Sherlock even made assessments psychologically about Dunning. He's not. He seemed he said idiot. I didn't think he'd be stupid, but he made some of his behaviors even Sherlock got to observe in that brief encounter.
Yes. So like you said, they use it as a reason to do their raid.
Yes.
And they get all the stuff. I like how Sherlock's comic house almost like deja vu because he studied the layout so intently.
Yes. So we should go to the office. I know where it is. And Bell.
That was great.
Gives another of his his own comedic show is happening of Bell's reactions to Sherlock. So that's another wonderful aspect of the show that I look forward to a lot sometimes. And
they realize that there's a rug missing
from
the thing that was in the video, and also that there's a missing member, the head guy, but they're not sure how he got it because all the bikes are accounted for. But then Sherlock, and I love this clue, he finds a rare motorcycle piece.
Yes.
which I believe he called it a triumph.
Yes.
And so they need to. I love how he's like saying biker repair shops keep very lax hours, so we should be able to track him down.
Oh my God, that was a good line. I should have written that down. Yes, and Sherlock even knows what kind of like lubricant that these kinds of British motorcycles need to relax the bolts. So even I was like, is Sherlock gonna taste it? Is it one of these times where he's gonna taste something again? So yes, that's a good break in the case for Sherlock and Joan.
Yes. So we get another scene. Oh, because with after that was Mittens and Watson, and it turns out I forgot to mention this, that what the whole point of it is, she's asking her to check out, again, very logical. She's asking her to check out the new, even though there's no evidence obviously that he is a criminal, she just wants to be sure so she can work some. So Watson did do the checking. Turns out it looks like he's a good boss, so she can still work, which obviously makes her, I'm guessing would make her happy. She doesn't do a big change. But she also has a book of poetry about cats. From T.S. Eliot.
Yes.
That
an original edition, first edition too.
Yes.
And
I've never heard of that title by him.
Yes, that's where the musical Cats is based from this book of poems.
Really?
Yes.
So we have him to blame.
Well, originally it was not meant to be a horrid long running musical. It was just a wonderful, funny, set of poems about cats, and it became this, Broadway show that would never die. But originally, lovely set of poems that Watson mistakenly thinks is a gift to her for doing the background check, but it's not a gift for Watson at all. In fact, it's...
I love how she says, he thought I might like it. I didn't. You don't have to tell him that.
Yes, in fact, it's actually being returned. And yes, please, even this wonderful scene where when we talked about the nuances of how her autism is portrayed, like, say you're welcome, and Watson.
That was interesting.
Yeah. So again, it reinforced what we just observed earlier, where it's well researched. It feels more true to life. It feels like a more complete portrayal of this kind of behavior on TV, as opposed to Big Bang Theory or sometimes BBC Sherlock.
So from there they track down the leader of the gang, which, interesting enough, says that he didn't kill the guy. He didn't know he was a cop. He was wasn't there that night.
Yep.
And that it wouldn't make any sense for kill him because he wants to find whoever did as much to him, because it was the killing of the cop that brought down the department on him. Yep.
So, but it turns out Nick Ferris, the leader of the biker gang, for the first time in his life, despite all that trouble, he's actually in agreement with the objectives of these of the policemen, which is, he also wants to find out who's at the bottom of trying to get, meticulously done spreadsheets done by bikers, which I think is an interesting turn, because I didn't think bikers would keep, good spreadsheets and good computer files.
Well, nowadays they'll have like one guy who's an accountant and stuff like that.
But he's dressed in biker cosplay.
Yeah, exactly. So they're trying to figure out, because he doesn't have the mole, so they're trying to figure out who did it. And while they're looking at that, Watson, while talking to Holmes, brings up Mittens.
Oh my God, this is the crown jewel of this episode. This whole like her very sibling type of
yep.
Oh my God, it's so funny, and the way even Lucy Liu is like on fire doing this sassing Donnie Lee Miller in this scene. It's so good.
Yes, and she's just ribbing him like crazy about, because it's funny because she even says it too. So the real reason she's ribbing him because she's so happy that he's met someone.
Yeah, it's like everything from the so. I mean, this is like, grown adults, just repeating.
Oh, we all do it.
But it's so funny. It was so well done in the show. I think it was such a pleasant rewatch to prepare for the podcast, because this show, that sequence was A+, seriously.
And I love when she brings up the book. She's like hundreds of books, no poetry. And I find it just, I know it's probably, I would think Holmes would have at least one book of poetry.
Yeah, maybe, I think so too. Yeah, I think that's a weird little nugget that I didn't think would be true. I think Sherlock would have volumes of poetry in the Brownstone.
Yeah. So. And Holmes is trying to avoid the issue. It's so funny.
Yes. So we have now, Sherlock's just trying to, again, put in the hard work of detecting and watching some.
Well, he gets saved. I love the idea that he buys a first edition to let someone borrow it. Because the only reason you do that is so they bring it back to you, which is actually, when you think about it, if you got money, it's not the worst way to get a woman to talk to you.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Sherlock's got game, massive game.
True. Now, from luckily Saved by the Bell, he gets some information from the coroner.
Yes.
Which leads him to see that the mole is
actually
from Dunning.
Ryan Dunning.
He was the shooter, which, of course, is impossible.
Yep. So it's, the usual back to the drawing board and finding out how he became the shooter. And, this crime has now become a conspiracy. And
as we've said, the missing piece of information earlier was his gait and walk and stuff become true, because then they realized, using that kind of math and intelligence, that he could not have been the person walking in the camera.
That's right. So Sherlock can from a point of view video file, he can find out how somebody's height and somebody's gait and whether they're leaning on their left leg. It's I guess that's what brilliant detecting really is. So that was a interesting development.
And they do something here that I really like, is when he tells them why they believe what's going on, and that he staged that the initial thing, that he was the shooter, and that must be staged and somehow they're not sure how he did it. But the guy obviously is upset that his officer is dirty, but he's not completely opposed to it.
Yes. Yeah,
I really like that he wasn't like, no, this isn't true. If you pursue this, I will, whatever. He's like, okay, it could be true. So he's matter of fact, like, I don't want it to be true.
Yes.
He's open to the idea of Dunning being dirty more than he wants to admit, and I actually find that very refreshing.
Yes, I also thought the same, where this captain had some kind of, a different, he wasn't all just blustery, but he seemed like a very smart and capable captain. So it was also a nice turn, and it was a nice touch to the way they portray cops, on the show.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out why. Like, they can't say why yet, but they're looking into it. So they trying to figure out if there's any clues in the current. And I had her name written down. What is her name in the show?
Hagen.
Hagen. And
Hagen.
She's I couldn't think of how I know her right off the bat, but she was actually the police captain in Gotham.
Oh, I never watched Gotham. Do you? No, I haven't seen it. So, but she is she had a recurring role there, a regular role.
Yeah, she was. She only just left the show mid last season.
Okay. Oh, so did you, because you were familiar with her face? Did you give her the guest star syndrome?
Well, I wasn't sure, because actually when I first watched the show, I knew her, but it wasn't. I hadn't watched because I hadn't seen Gotham in a few weeks because it's been on its break, so it didn't really. I actually had to go on the Elementary group and say, who is this? Because her name wasn't posted in IMDb yet.
Yes.
But I'm like, oh yeah. Now, but I knew her, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So they start looking at it, and it turns out someone did move some money, but they're not sure when, how, or who.
Yes.
We get this great scene where Watson... Oh, wait, first, before that, we get Watson talking to Holmes about his interest, and he brings up the fact that it would probably go wrong with her, so why pursue it if it's good? I love this. And he actually probably believes he's protecting her, and I like how she says, you could have fallen in love before with Irene. And he goes, you mean Moriarty?
Yeah. That admission of Sherlock that, yes, you're right, I do, I'm intrigued by her. That was also beautifully performed, well written, so interesting, and it brings up, the complications of what romance would be like for Sherlock, because like we mentioned before, Adler and slash Moriarty, and Sherlock is already anticipating that, because Fiona is such a different kind of person. She's neuroatypical. He is foreseeing that he will just hurt her, and Joan is like, that might necessarily be the case, and so she encourages Sherlock to open up his feelings for Fiona.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was an important sequence. Yes.
So from there we get Holmes checking out Hagen's butt. And it's a nice one to be sure, but he's actually looking at her gait.
Yes.
And he notices that he actually matches the person in the video, so it makes sense that she could have been the accomplice.
Yeah. Yep. So that lights a bulb in Sherlock's head, and he has another lead to find out. That he realizes the crime is all about acquiring the computer, right?
Yeah, because that's the whole. Yeah, the whole reason was because the captain didn't want to do the raid yet, so that he had to. So they staged this thing to do it. But then the thing they have to figure out is it would be impossible for him to bring in a stranger, stage a shooting, get out without any of the other bikers knowing.
Yes. So this is the next thing that Sherlock and Joan have to solve, because how, if this computer is in this lair, how did this whole shooting and filming happen in a very busy, headquarters? And that's the next thing they try to solve.
And then after Watson goes to bed, we get our and I love her when she's bringing the gift. Like she's giving reasoning for every gift, and she says she could choose all or none. It sounds so mathematical, and I love it. Yes,
and if you see, and this, I made special notice of Sherlock's expression at every option that Fiona's offering. Oh, these are flowers. This is food. This is wine. And Sherlock's face is like it's open and so romantic. At the same time, it doesn't betray that he is wary and holding back. I mean, that was such, I would love to, like, I don't know how what director was seeing when they were shooting it, because it's really, A+ Emmy worthy acting. I mean, that you can do a little shouting match or a dramatic death, but to portray nuances like that so wonderfully is, that should be worthy of an Emmy, really.
And we have her. They're on the roof, yes. And I like how she makes the first move.
Yeah, she lays her cards out on the table right away.
I prefer when women do that.
Okay, noted. And Zach's fans on this podcast, please.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we got plenty of women going, oh, good, I know the way to Zach's heart now.
It can't hurt.
Oh yes, it can.
Okay. But yes, so Fiona, lays it out. She says, "I enjoyed our talk. I would like to kiss you," and she's just admitting all these straight up her feelings for Sherlock.
And he doesn't really know how to react. Yes. But he does admit he likes her.
Yes. And Sherlock apparently smells nice. Okay, so I'll remember.
I'm sure that's important to Sherlock.
Despite not having a bedroom, okay? I don't know. I'm still puzzled by that. But any case, this roof encounter, again, it's a showcase for the actress, Betty Gilpin, for Johnny Lee Miller. And it's a funny way to do a romance. It's refreshing that, these two neuroatypical kids are trying to sort out how to move forward romantically. So
I love how it like obviously takes a lot out of her. And he's not, and it's great to see Sherlock. I mean, he's not flustered. He's just trying to process it.
Yes.
And something they do that is very relevant here. The phone rings and he does not answer.
Yes. Oh God, Sherlock's falling hard if that happened.
And she says, "That's weird. You're not answering your phone."
Yes. Oh my God, Sherlock, what do we do with you? But that is an important invisible marker, so to speak, of a change in Sherlock, right? Because he didn't.
I almost wanted to write down this whole conversation as favorite lines because the way they talk to each other is amazing.
Oh my! Well, you know what? Let's hear it later at the end of the episode and share. Yes, because every line exchange was really it's very precise, just because they're and economical, but at the same time it's delivered so much meaning. So it was wonderful.
Yes, just all the things, and they don't do it. She doesn't really say anything now, but so she's. I don't know if I want to use the word embarrassed, because I don't think she was embarrassed.
I think that expression I'm getting from her is like this: I'm gonna take this risk because she doesn't lie to herself, right? I'm gonna tell you what I feel, but you can see again, like I described earlier, you can see the conflict and the struggle of which direction.
That's a better way to put it.
Should I should just kid myself and not say anything, or I should just put myself out there and risk, being embarrassed. So that's a again, well crafted, emotional moment for Fiona.
Yes.
I loved it.
So from that awesome scene, we find out that the carpet's been found, and also Watson we get one of the rude awakenings, but this one's very prevalent to the case. I love her reaction, I love how he just goes, "You're wondering how I moved you downstairs without waking you." She's always like, "Yeah." But then he shows her that he did all that to prove that she thought she got moved downstairs, but really he moved stuff in, which still is a good feat that he was able to do all that without waking her up.
Well, I think it's happened before where Watson just sleeps heavily, and Sherlock's been in her room and before she's even woken up. Maybe it has to do with her medical training, where when you're just dead tired, you're just dead to the world and sleep away. I know some doctors who are like that. So, but it is just, no matter what, Watson not waking up and thinking she's in the wrong room was well played.
Yes, and he told her that she just thought it was, that she was actually still in her room, but because it turns out that, because with the evidence of the of the rug, that the whole scene was staged, and that just helps everything fall from there. A lot falls into place. So they call Hagen back in.
Yeah. So
and she knows something's up when she sees the union rep.
Yeah. So that's and Sherlock, he likes this not sleeping and trying to figure out things and waking Joan up and saying this is what's gonna happen, and I don't know how Sherlock survives without sleep. But yes, we are now set up to get Hagen / Gotham cop that from a show I didn't watch to start fessing up that she was part of this conspiracy of trying to steal the computer, which turned into murder because I guess she was greedy and wanted everything for herself.
Yeah, it turns out that the cop sadly was dirty. They were going to go after the computer.
Yes.
The only way to get it was to get the cops. So whatever the plan was, like you said, she double-crossed them to get the money, but they were able to figure out because it turns out her family owned an antique store, a warehouse, and they explored the warehouse, and they found evidence there, which led them... Now, although they weren't specific... I'm guessing it was his blood or whatever. They weren't specific exactly what was the evidence they found.
Yeah.
Which is because they staged the murder, but then she killed him again in the same manner.
Yeah. So... that's when the title of the episode actually makes sense at last, right? A view with a room, which I was trying to think about it, and when you're like, oh yeah, because this room was not really a room, and as Sherlock says, that's the difference between a fake crime scene and a real one. So, yes.
Also, really, the thing I was a little confused is she obviously got away with a few $1 million. Why didn't she just run?
You know what? I think that's a good observation, because she even tried to sort of cover up her tracks by like, hey, I heard we hear things on the sidelines,
Yeah.
So the guy was he was his own shooter. Oh, really?
If she gets bail, she is gone.
Yes. So I think maybe that's just her pathology is like, yes, I killed this crime, but I need to throw off suspicion, so I'm going to...
Like she thought she could still be a cop with money or some stuff like that.
Yeah, so that is it's a lot. I guess it's a nice character turn. I mean, we glean so much, motivation behind some very few scenes. So it's also a testament to good writing.
And so we get after that, we get my other favorite scene of the episode.
Yes.
Oh, this is just so awesome. And because Sherlock admits his feeling for her, he admits that he likes her. Yeah. I like how he says, oh God, this whole thing could be my favorite lines. Like, he says something like, is that offer to kiss you still open? She's like, no. Well, she says, no. Yeah, well, yes, but not right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, that was also, it was also, yes, it's worth, Zach's favorite sequence award. That was well done. Super well done.
And, weird thing to notice, but the clock on her wall says London on it.
Really? I didn't notice.
It says, I'm looking at it because I watch episodes we podcast. I'm trying to read, there's a street address, and I should look up to see if that means anything. But first, with them interacting, it's just, like she said, like, and I really do think I'm neuroatypical. I'm not autistic, but I am neuroatypical, and I know how she feels. Like she's talking about, my past boyfriend said I was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I love her. I love when she says that. And then he's like, I haven't boyfriend. He makes a joke. He says, I haven't found the right man.
Yeah. So perfectly delivered too. Yes. It was funny.
Yes.
And wait, did you just say there's a London clock in her apartment?
Well, there's a clock in there, and it says like the place where it came from. I don't know if it means anything. I could just be noticing something that's not there. Okay. You know what I mean? Okay. But another thing that he admits how when they're talking to each other, and it's almost like she's ready to be rejected, but he doesn't want a normal woman. He doesn't want, and like I said, this is where I wanted to mention it. She's like a case. He has to earn it. He has to figure her out, and that is perfect for Holmes. That's why I don't get why so many people are against it. They're like, oh, she's difficult. She's this. I'm like, that's what Holmes should be with.
Yeah.
They're like, it's an uncomfortable scene, but no, it's not. It's not discomfort. It's a specific way of thinking of doing it.
Yes. Yes. It's not. Yeah. It seems too simplistic to call that feeling as a case, so to speak. But you're right. It's something that Sherlock can't just easily figure out at first glance, because obviously he can tell your gait from a few seconds with you. But this kind of behavior, this neuroatypical behavior, is because it's very challenging. It's attractive to Sherlock. So I think I'm also looking forward to how they do it. I don't object to it at all, and I think it's the writers have enough good going that they can bring this kind of potentially risky story and potentially risky character into a really good, solid, plot and turn for Sherlock. So I'm for it.
Oh, and I looked it up. Bond. Apparently, it's just a kind of brand name, the Bond Street London. I thought it's probably completely right, unless it was. I don't know. Yes. But yes, and that he admits he's afraid too. I was like, yes.
Yeah, that I don't think. I mean, compared to the BBC Sherlock, I mean, you'd never catch that kind of turn of behavior because it's. But I admire the risk that Elementary is taking in developing Sherlock this way. So Sherlock has a girlfriend. Who she likes.
I'm very curious to see where they go with it. So before we get into final thoughts, I'll do my favorite lines. Okay. Let's see. Oh. Help me enter. They are to help me enter the mind of whoever might have wanted to murder my father. Not a long walk, I confess.
Yes, I noticed that too. That was hilarious.
No, dude. Suggesting a romantic interest in the vernacular of a prepubescent child.
I had that one too. That's funny. Oh my god, brilliant.
Okay. Oh wait, I had it written down. I know I just saw it.
Yeah.
It was okay, it must have got deleted or something, but it was we could wait. Oh, here we go. Wait for the inevitable outbreak of hepatitis A.
Yes, I also noticed that could be a potential way to get into the hilarious, like hepatitis A, maybe. Yes.
The next one, it It does if you let it. When she says that the case doesn't make any sense, and I love the way he says it does if. Oh, I love that. And my last favorite line is, of course, when he's talking to Mittens. Personally, I abhor the typical.
Yes, gold star for that one, because that's also one of my favorite lines this episode. And I think everything's great. I said some favorite lines earlier in our discussion. I think the only line I liked, if it was not by Sherlock or Joan, was all this over a mole. And that was also well done and an entertaining part of that sequence. So, so overall, this episode was super entertaining. And let me hear your thoughts, and I'm curious to hear about it.
All right. Well, my final thoughts are the case was good. It was interesting. Like I like how we have the build up the heist, which becomes immaterial, and they have to figure because the fact that there is no possible way. Mm-hmm. It's like the whole murder in the locked room thing. How do someone do this shooting? And there's like 30 armed men over there, so it's impossible. They have to figure it out. And the reveal was very satisfying to me. But I think the star of this episode has to be the interaction between Holmes and Mittens. I mean, like I said, a lot of people are split down the middle. I am very intrigued by it. I'm so curious to see where they're going to go with it. The writers have yet to let me down with stuff like this, so I'm really because so many shows will do a build up like this and just break them up. Now I don't know if they're going to end up together. I don't think the writers would make that mistake, but like I said, a lot of shows will do a build up like this just to kill the person or to have them break up. Yes. I mean, they've taken risks before, and it would be such a risk to have Holmes in a committed relationship.
That's true. So that is a huge risk, and I'm pretty much in line with it. I support going further into this relationship. The case was interesting, and that's another question that I wanted to put out there is for some fellow fans of Elementary, they are sort of unhappy that the cases are not, intriguing enough, or I solved it before Sherlock. Sherlock must be stupid kind of reactions, and which is I find strange because Sherlock's not on TV. He's living through the story.
Right.
So, of course, we have the advantage of being omniscient and seeing other elements that we will get ahead of Sherlock. So, but at the same time, the character development, the nuances, the humor, the emotion, the connections that Sherlock and Joan have made, Sherlock and Fiona have made, even Sherlock and Joan with Gregson and Bell, with Clyde even. They're so wonderfully developed. It's such a true strength of the show, and for some fans that's enough. I mean, the case is secondary. I just want to see Sherlock and Joan just discuss cases together, and it doesn't matter if the plot line is stupid. So that's a balance that I think some people find well done, or some people find off balance. And I wonder what your thoughts on that would be. I mean, do you want it to have equal character development and equal intriguing case, or that's not so important to you?
Well, they've had full range. They have some episodes where it's more about character development, some episodes more about case, and some that were balanced. So, yeah. But I mean, they've had some good Holmes Sherlockian cases. Sometimes, the cases were maybe a little simpler, but I think still. But usually when it's less Sherlockian, it's because they're focusing on character development. So I had no problem with it this week, and for me, I'm just curious to see where they're going to go with it.
Yeah. So the characters, to me, this is one of the better balanced episodes. I liked the case; it was intriguing. Sherlock's, curious about developing a heist, and there's a locked room element to it. So I like that. And as we shared earlier, moments between Sherlock and Fiona were so, just extremely well done, so funny. So it's cute, as you said. You like, you're allowing Sherlock to be cute. He has our permission, and I can't wait to see also where things take us next week.
Well, it's what's interesting. I don't know if this is tease like Hound, but next week's episode is called A Study in Charlotte.
Yes. I have not seen the promo, so I don't know what.
I never watch promos because half the time. Oh yeah, because half the time it's like next time on. Hey, we're gonna ruin everything. It's like no. So many I've seen shows where the character will be like injured or something, and then they show them fine next week. It's like that defeats the purpose. so I just abstained from watching it. So we'll see if it has anything to do with. Do you have anything else you'd like to add for this week's episode?
No, I think after 4 years, the show 80+ episodes, and you put it weirdly, the writers rarely let us down, and so I'm gonna trust them on this one. That Fiona could be a potential addition to the show in a really good way. So that's a View of the Room, really great episode.
I agree. So it is time for me and Karen to depart, for the game is afoot.